Morning, everyone. I just want to share a tiny little jewel before I get the day started. Um, just a little part, the first little part of one of the Torahs Nikutei Maran. And by the way, we're going to start, God willing, this week. We'll also, tie it once we start learning. We'll tie it into the Parsha and stuff. But I wanted to start basically Nikutei Maran. Start with Torah. I think Aleph, the first lesson, then we'll go to the second lesson. And then, or maybe from the first one, we'll jump to Reish Pei Bet. There's basically, I think, 3, maybe 4 Torahs that are like, strong foundation of the whole book, Likutei Maran. Basically, once you get this general idea that Rav Nachman gives in a little bit of a hidden way and not such a clear way, which will obviously also give a completely different understanding on how to understand the entire Likutei Moharan and the entire Torah. Like, it'll bring a completely different understanding. It'll obviously take a while, so most probably the classes are going to be longer, but God willing, they're going to be really sweet, all based on Reish Pei Bet, which is the Nekudot Tavot, but with a lot of just the Nekudot, judging yourself favorably, always seeing that godliness, that goodness from within you, that neshama, and not looking at the bad. So I just want to bring this tiny little piece over here and show, like, from the Gemara, how Rav Nachman explains it. So it says, Anochi Adonai Elohecha asher hotzaticha me'eretz Mitzrayim beit avadim. So I am Hashem, your God, right? There is the word Yud Kei Vav Kei, which is Hashem's name, the loving kindness, the one that just gives. The Mashpia, which is the giver, like the sun, and then Elohecha is the vessel, the receiver. So it says, Anochi, I am Hashem and your God, Elokecha, your king. Asher hotzaticha, and I'm the one who took you out of Egypt, the house of slavery. So Reb Nachman, in the first section here in Aleph, it's the 4th lesson, in case I didn't say it. כשאדם יודע שכל מאורעותיו הם לטובתו, when a person understands, like in knowledge, the dot is already a real deep understanding. When a person understands that everything that he goes through is for his best, this aspect is mamish like me'ein olam habayit. This is like a taste of how it's going to be when Mashiach comes. Like it says in Tehillim, brings a pasuk, Ba'Hashem alel davar, Be'Elohim alel davar. When it comes to Hashem, the name of Chesed, of goodness, I'll always praise and thank Hashem. And Be'Elohim, which is the king, right? Hashem is the king. Elohim is more judgment, meaning the difficulties, the judgments and stuff that I go through in life. Also, when those things happen to me in life, I'll praise Hashem. This aspect is me'ein, it's like a taste of the coming world, like the rabbis taught us in the Gemara Psachim, page 50. It says, Bayom hahu yeh Hashem echad u'shmo echad. The pasuk says in the prophet that in the day to come, God and Hashem and His name will be one. Hashem and His name, right? Hashem echad u'shmo echad. So the Gemara asks, they ask a kasha, they say, V'chi ha'idna lav echadu. What? So right now, in the time of exile that we're in right now, God's not one? God forbid. I mean, Hashem's always one. Why does it say, in the day to come in the future, when the Messiah comes, when Mashiach comes, then God will be one and His name will be one? So they ask, what do you mean? Well, of course, God's always one. So obviously now in the exile, He's also one. And they answer the question. They say, Tirtzu chachamenu zichronam levracha. This is the answer. Ha'idna, now, mevarchim el hatova ha'metiv. On the good things that happen to us, what do we say? We say the blessing of hatov ha'metiv. We thank Hashem that He's good and He brought goodness into our life, right? When something good happens, you say the blessing of kindness and goodness. When a good thing happens, you can bring a korban todah, sacrifice of thanks. You take a sheep to the Beis HaMikdash and you want to say thanks to Hashem. Ve'al ha'ra'ah dayan emet. But what do we do when something something bad, chas v'shalom, happens to us? We get some sort of thing in our life that's coming from the other name of Hashem, the Elokim, the judgment, right? So what we say, dayan emet. We say that God is the true judge. Ula'atid, so that's what we do now in time of exile. Ula'atid, in the future when Mashiach comes, our personal Mashiach, kulo atov ha'metiv. And everything we're going to say atov ha'metiv. The good things that happen to us and the bad things that happen. She'yeh, that which will mean, she'yeh Shem Hashem v'Shem Elohim achdut gamur. that the name of Hashem and the name of Elokim, the name of judgment, those two things will be oneness when Mashiach comes. So Reb Nachman's explaining this. He says, just to explain what Reb Nachman means, that the rabbis are teaching us how to. Reb Nachman says that when the name Hashem and the name Elokim for you is just oneness, you realize that it's all you, Anochi Hashem Elokecha, that it's all the good, the Yud Kei Vav Kei and Elokecha, it's all oneness. Then that is mamash, a taste of the coming world. We can taste that Mashiach time right now in the exile that we're in, and that, like it says in the pasuk that we started off with, and I took you out of Egypt, I took you out of that slavery that we're in. So the way the answer the rabbis are giving for this question, why now do we say Dayan Emet? On the good things we say, thank you Hashem so much, you're unbelievable, we thank Hashem for the good things that happen. And the bad things we say Dayan Emet, which the regular simple explanation, the way people have always explained it, is what? Dayan Emet means that, okay, it's a bad thing obviously, but I know that Hashem's a truthful, true judge, and I obviously deserve it or whatnot. No. Nachman says like this. This is what the rabbis are teaching us. Right now, on the good things, meaning now before Mashiach came, when a person is in this world, before the actual Mashiach of the entire world came, how am I, on a personal level, supposed to look at it to get that taste of the next world that he's talking about here? Very simple. On good things I say Hatov Metiv, that Hashem is good and He always does goodness. And on the bad things, you know what I say? Dayan Emet. You know what Dayan Emet means? That thing, you say Dayan Emet when somebody dies, right? If somebody Chas v'Shalom passes away, you say Dayan Emet, Baruch Dayan Emet. So Reb Nachman is saying, that thing, that negative thing that I did in my life, that thing that I did that I know was against Hashem, against the Torah, on that thing, when that thought comes to my mind of that negative thing that I did, or a thought of something negative that someone else did, another Jew, or anyone in the world, that thing I have to tell Hashem on that thing, Dayan Emet. Dayan Emet, meaning that thing is dead. That thing is long gone. It's Dayan Emet. I have to, meaning I only need to focus on all of the things that are Hatov HaMeitiv. All the goodness and the kindness, and the bad things, the negative things, as far as I'm concerned, they're Dayan Emet. That's something dead, it's in the past, it's gone. So when a person does that, and he starts basically saying Dayan Emet to all of the negativity he has in his life, any negativity somebody tries to put before his face, any type of negativity that there is and in his life or in anyone else, and seeing other people, and so it's all based, this idea is based on the way Reb Nachman explains the Torah Reish Pei Bet, of having the good eye, the positive eye on yourself and on others. And he says that the redemption of a person's personal redemption, his Mashiach, to come out of all of his darkness and his dark space, all depends on this, on these eyes. And when the nation of Israel gets these eyes, the Mashiach of the entire nation will come. And these eyes are that all of the negative, all the bad things in my life, they're all in the past. They're Dayan Emet. I say on them Dayan Emet. I don't even look at them. They do not exist as far as I'm concerned. What do I focus on? I only focus on Atov HaMeitiv. All the things that Hashem does good, I see Atov HaMeitiv on them. The bad things are gone. They're Dayan Emet. It's in the past. I'm not even looking at it. And when a person can bring these two things together and look at these two names of, on one hand, Yud Kei Vav Kei and Elokim, with those eyes, he will come right out of Egypt from the slavery that he's in. So at the end of the Torah of Nachman, says, what's the Beit Avadim? He says, first of all, Egypt corresponds, we know that all the 4 exiles that were from the beginning until now we're in the last exile out of the 4 exiles, they're all called, in the Midrash they say that all the 4 exiles are called Mitzrayim. They have the name Mitzrayim. Why? Because they make Mitzerim, they make narrowness for Am Yisrael. They put our souls into a narrowness. And because of that, we're in Mitzrayim, we're in a Beit Avadim, we're in a house of slaves. What's this house of slaves? It's the 4 elements. The 4 elements that everybody has, that because of those, all their midot, all their characteristics stem out of these 4 elements. Like if a person has the element of fire is a little bit stronger by him, so then he'll have more tests with anger. A person who has, the element of dirt, he'll have like atzvut and atzlus, and like each one of the four elements corresponds to different characteristics, which we'll obviously get to when we get to the fourth lesson. But when a person brings these two names together on everything negative, anything bad in his life, it's all dayan emet. He doesn't even look at it. It's gone. It's in the past. I'm not giving it any attention, not focusing on it at all. Only focusing on the Yud Kei Vav Kei, and that holy soul that I have from within me, and all those candles that I collected, and all those beautiful things that everybody does, not looking at anything bad that anyone does, just those good eyes, those eyes of Mashiach. That's when my Mashiach, my personal Mashiach will come. That's when I'll come out of Mitzrayim. That's when I'll come out of that house of slavery, meaning I'll be able to get out of all those bad negative midot that I have from within me, those negative characteristics and things that are all being influenced because I'm stuck inside of that exile of Egypt, because I'm stuck inside of that negative eye, that eye that looks out and looks bad at others and at himself. He's looking at the negative. If a person would only look at that light, at the goodness from within him, everything good that he does, everything good that other people do, and say on all of the bad that he sees, that thing, Dayan Emet, that thing's gone, it's disappeared, it died a long time ago. It doesn't have no existence. The Dayan Emet you say on someone who's died, which means they're gone, like they're not in the world anymore, they don't even exist, it's gone. His neshama's not here, he went up to the next world, his body's under the ground, it's finished, that thing's done. So Rav Nachman says, and that's what the emet is, that really all of the negative, all the bad, was only brought into the world to give us a test, so we have freedom of choice. So if we pass the test, it joins that group of the good things that I thank Hashem for, the good things, those candles that bring light onto my soul. If I didn't pass the test and I fell into sin, or I fell into a bad, midah of lashon hara, or anger, or gaiva, or whatever it is, at that time, whenever it was in my life that I had that test, you fell, that thing's dead. It's gone. It has no existence whatsoever. So once a person could get this in his head and understand this concept, we come out of Egypt, we come out of our bad midot, we don't judge ourselves in a bad way anymore. So basically all the four exiles that always make us in this narrowness, and because of that, all of our characteristics, we're suffering from all of our bad midot because we're only giving them existence. So we want to come out of Egypt, we have to not give them any existence. That is mean, Anochi Hashem Elokecha. When I look at Hashem Elokecha as one, that the two names are actually one, I will come out of Egypt. Anyhow, hope that was clear enough. And based on that, we're going to go into the Torah's Aleph Bet Gimel. It's going to open up Bezat Hashem, amazing gateways. I hope you guys could bear with me because, some people have a hard time with Likutei Moharan. But I think I'm going to give it over in a bit of a different way. Like I looked into a lot of different Sfarim, and I've heard rabbis and stuff, the way they give it over. But this is going to be a little bit different just because of these few, Torahs that, in my opinion, the way I learned it, the way Hashem Mamash opened up my eyes to see these few Torahs, how they're kind of like the key to this treasury, this safe, that if you look in the introduction of the book, Rav Natan says that Rabbeinu Mamash sealed it in a treasury, which means it's sealed and covered and hidden but revealed. Like very hidden but very revealed. So the hiddenness is that there's a key to get into this book, to get these eyes, this Ein Echad Rachame, that one eye of mercy, that one eye where there's no more two eyes, the good eye, the bad eye. It's just the one eye. It says in Torah Bet, Rav Nachman brings that I'll just say it really quickly. I know people don't have time. Maybe they do it Sundays here. I don't know. Rabbeinu says that the kilkul mishpat, validei kilkul mishpat, when a person is, God forbid, is always judging himself in a bad way, ba kilkul ainin, so he gets a kilkul, he gets a blemish to his eyes, meaning his eyes start seeing negative on himself and on others because he has a blemish in the judgment, the way he judges himself. Like it says, shochad ya'aver einei chachamim, that the shochad, when you give, the simple halacha is in the Torah, is if a judge gets bribery, then his eyes become blind. So what it means, shochad ya'aver einei chachamim, when a person is judging himself, right? Shochad is when you make a bad judgment, which means you give the judge money, and then instead of getting a good judgment, so we know now what's right, what's wrong, who's chayav, who's not, right? What's the case over here? It gets messed up, and right. So when a person judges himself in a negative way and is always pulling himself to the bad and looking at his negative, that's called ivuta mishpat. So that's called the shochad. That shochad, that's like the giving money to the other side. I'm giving strength to the judge, right? Is like I'm giving now the judgment, I'm giving the money to the negative side, which means I'm giving now. I'm making a psak on myself. I'm judging now myself. So I'm like the judge, and I'm giving myself shochad, which means I'm matet. I'm giving the bad from within me. I'm giving it strength. I'm making the bad side is the one that you're right. The bad is that I did. That's the one, and that's who I am, and I'm the bad, right? So it makes me blind. When a person lives this way for years and years, and he's constantly, and this is the Yetzer Hara that we're born with, and this is our whole test, to get these eyes of Mashiach, which are the eyes of only looking at our goodness, only judging ourselves favorably at all times. So, these are all the machshavot zarat, the bad thoughts that people have during davening. Where do these negative thoughts come from, where their thought just keeps going off track when they're trying to daven and connect to Hashem? It all comes from these clouds that are covering it. They're called ananin bechasyan al einin, the clouds that are covering up on our eyes, that in a different Torah Rabbeinu explains this is the klipa of Esav and Ishmael. They are the ones who cover both of our eyes. Like it says, Sakota ba'anan lach me'avot tfilah. And then Rabbeinu says, V'la'atid shi'utukan b'chinat mishpat. But in the future, what's the future? The future is when everybody gets the eyes of Mashiach and gets these eyes of only looking and judging themselves at all times only favorably, and judging everybody else only favorably, not looking at the bad, not giving the bad an existence. When the mishpat is fixed, like it says in the pasuk of Yishaya, Tzion b'mishpat tipadeh. How are you going to redeem Tzion? How do you redeem Tzion, which is your mind and your heart? How do you redeem it from the klipot, from the bad? When it gets redeemed through mishpat, through judgment, which means when a person is judging and mateh himself always to the side of chesed, azayit aber ananin mechasyan al ena. So those eyes, those clouds that are covering up the two eyes, they will evaporate. He says the clouds that are covering the one eye, right? Ananim in plural, that are covering up al ena, which is ena chad derachame that we said at the beginning, which is the one eye of mercy. That they're really, those two, Yud Kei Vav Kei and Elokim, is actually one. It's called ena chad derachame. It's the one eye of only seeing good, the way Hashem looks out onto us with the one eye of rachamim, of mercy. Hashem's not looking at us with the judgment and the deen, only with the mercy. Like it says, Ki ayin be'ayin yir'u b'shuv Hashem Tzion. It says, he brings a pasuk from Yishaya, the prophet, talking about when Mashiach comes, when that redemption comes to Am Yisrael, comes to me on a personal level. It says, Ki ayin be'ayin yir'u b'shuv Hashem Tzion. Eye to eye you will see that Hashem is returning to Tzion. Meaning, Yud Kei Vav Kei, Hashem's kindness is coming back to Tzion. What's Tzion? Tzion is my mind and my heart. So when is Yud Kei Vav Kei? When is only goodness and kindness, the oneness of Hashem? We know Hashem's main name is Yud Kei Vav Kei. Elokim is just, the way He's mitlabesh in the physical world through judgment, right? Chesed and Mishpat. So B'shuv Hashem Tzion, when Hashem, Yud Kei Vav Kei, the oneness, that goodness, the only kindness, right? It returns to Tzion, into my body, into my mind, into my heart, and I realize that those two eyes, those negative and that, it's actually all one. Through this will come my ultimate redemption. And this is why Yosef HaTzadik is called Ben Porat Aleh Ayin. That Yosef HaTzadik is called Ben Porat, and he's Aleh Ayin. He's basically, I can't really explain this Inyan because we need to go back to the whole beginning of Torah Bet, but it means that Yosef HaTzadik, because he fixed his mind and his brit, his mind was so holy, and he went down to Mitzrayim and he stayed holy, and he went through all the tests and whatever he needed to go through in that Egypt and that narrowness that we go through, but his mind always stayed with Aleh Ayin, which means he was above the eye. He did not let that negative eye in Egypt have any effect. He didn't give the Egyptians any existence, any strength, and he didn't focus on the negative at all. He had that eye, realizing that everything he's seeing around him, even though he's in jail and the tests he went through, it's all just goodness. There is no koach. And that's why Yosef HaTzadik, which is from within me, there's a Yosef HaTzadik. Yosef HaTzadik, how did he have the koach down in Egypt to go and elevate all of the sparks? We know that out of the 288 sparks that fell from the Chet of Adam HaRishon, Yosef HaTzadik elevated 202 of them. How did he have the strength to do it and collect all the money and, so these dreams that came, and he figured out dreams, and there's going to be a famine, and he gathered all them, and he got all the food, and everybody brought the money and the whole thing, and he elevated almost all of the sparks from the sin of Adam HaRishon, 202 out of 288. There's only 86 left that we've been elevating since then, since the coming out of Egypt. He did it because when he was in Egypt for all those years, Egypt, that narrowness, that klipa, did not even have an existence. It didn't exist. That's why when he gave even a tiny, tiny little, bit of, like he asked, when you go out, if you could just tell Pharaoh that I'm down in here, I don't really deserve to be here. There was a little, something. He got 2 years punished for that, because he gave it, as soon as he gave the Egyptians this reality of jail, of narrowness, of klipa, of negative in my life, as soon as you give it an existence, it has a grasp on you. You're back in jail for 2 years. That's what the Torah is teaching us. What do you mean he went back to jail for 2 years? He wasn't in jail for those 10 years. That's why the Torah says that he was ruling there, and the head of the jail straight away made him the head, and he was in charge of everybody. What's going on here? Saying he was in charge of it, he became the head in jail because there was no jail. It didn't exist in his mind. When he came out of jail, he straight away became second to the Pharaoh. He went to the top of Egypt. How do you become the top? There's no Egypt, so of course you're on top of it. It means Yosef was on top of Egypt. Yosef was on top of that aspect of jail. He wasn't in it because he did not give it any existence. And when you don't give the other side any existence, that's when you can elevate all of the sparks of Kedusha. That's when you can come out and fulfill and live your full potential in life, because you're not being held back from all of those narrownesses and all those difficulties and all those things that are holding you back, only because you're giving that negative, that bad, an existence. So B'ezrat Hashem, through going into the Likutei Moharan, we're going to start learning how to really come out of that klipa, that negative, that Yetzer Hara that's stuck from within us all these years. And a lot of the Torah that we hear from different, rabbis or whatever, that it's all with these two eyes, the two-eye Torah. We need to start giving over like the Torah of Mashiach, that one eye, where everybody starts not only understanding it on themselves, but starts actually becoming like a little Moshe Rabbeinu. Like Rabbeinu says in this Torah bet, a lot of times he says everybody has this aspect of Moshe, right? In Reish Pei Bet, he says that every single person has an aspect of Moshe Mashiach. Which means when the Torah says Vaydaber Hashem el Moshe, right? Daber el, like in Torah Bet, let's say, Vayomer Hashem el Moshe, Emor al Kohanim bnei Aaron, Va'amarta alehem lenefesh lo yitama ba'amav. So what does it mean? Rabbeinu, in one of the Torahs, he says, there's also Torah hidden from within Vaydaber Hashem el Moshe. There's mitzvahs. We have the 613 mitzvahs. Okay, well, what's the mitzvah? What's the work for me as a Jew? The whole Torah needs to connect to me, every word, every letter. So what's my work in? Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu, go to Aaron and tell him, and then he goes and tells Aaron what to do. Okay, so that's a mitzvah for a Kohen. So you need to go and light the candles or bless the nation or whatnot. But what's the Torah? What's the mitzvah? What is the ratzon of Hashem from within the word Vayomer Hashem el Moshe? So Rabbeinu reveals to us, you are Moshe Rabbeinu. You have from within you, every single person has from within him that little Moshe Rabbeinu, that Redeemer from the Egypt. That Mashiach that could bring you to your ultimate redemption, to take you out of your exile that you're in. So that's the work. That's what Hashem is. That's the mitzvah of Hashem from within that. Vayomer Hashem el Moshe. Hashem is coming. What's Hashem is, again, the kindness, Yud Kei Vav Kei, just looking with the good eye, the one eye. Vayomer Hashem el Moshe. Hashem is coming and telling me, he's coming telling that aspect from within me that could redeem and redeem me from all my bad. He says, Emor al Kohanim bnei Aaron, go tell the Kohanim, the sons of Aaron, Va'amarta alehem, and you need to tell them and teach them, Lenefesh lo yitama ba'amav. They are not allowed to make, God forbid, anyone impure. Which the simple meaning means that they're not allowed to touch, a body that died, because they're Kohanim, they have to stay pure. So as soon as the Kohen comes and he touches someone, touches someone that's impure, he becomes impure, and then he can't do the service in the Beis Hamikdash. But the deeper meaning over here is that Hashem, the Yud Kei Vav Kei, that Chesed aspect, that one eye, that Mashiach light that's going to come, is telling Moshe Rabbeinu, he's telling the Moshe from within me, the one who's going to take me out of that Egypt and exile that I'm in. He's saying, go and tell all the Kohanim. The Kohanim we know, the sons of Aaron. The Kohanim are called Tzaddikim. The Tzaddikim of the generations, the ones who are going to go out. A Tzaddik means someone who is always Matzdika Rabim. That's why he's called a Tzaddik, because he's always finding the goodness and finding why a person doesn't deserve the punishment, why a person didn't, he didn't really want to do the sin. He always takes him out of the negative judgment and brings him into a good kav zchut, right? So go tell those Kohanim, all those rabbis, all those leaders that are going out there into the world, that they should be very careful not to impure any of my souls, any of Bnei Yisrael, that they should never go and tell, a person that he's off, or look at his bad and tell him that what he did, he's going to get, chas v'shalom, punished, or Gehenim, and bring that eye of exile, that eye of Egypt, because I took you now out of Egypt, and now I'm making you guys higher priests. So you, Moshe Rabbeinu, you want to come to that redemption from within you, you better go and now tell all the leaders that they better be careful not to, and that's the leader from within me also, telling myself, right? But this is a general aspect. Go tell those leaders to never point out and speak and find the bad from within my people, Hashem says. So that's the same thing. And a general, so it's always the general aspect and the personal aspect. And B'ezrat Hashem, we should have a great beginning to the week and come out of all of our Mitzrayim and Gewalt. Anyhow, it was a good Shabbos. It was a good Shabbos. Baruch Hashem. Good Shabbos, good Shabbos. Love you all.